This conference will now be recorded.
Do I assume Nick is Jeff?
Yes, Nick Happ is here with me.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll bet you up for a second.
What's that?
All right, give me the chat.
Anybody with you, Chad?
No, just me.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. LaFever?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Here.
Mrs. O'Rourke here. Mr. Pearson?
Here. All right, we have everybody here in attendance. We are meeting and we're all in person, but we'd also be allowed to meet virtually due to the governor extending the disaster declaration, and that has now been extended through February 4th, 2023, so we may have all of our meetings remotely. And we have our guidelines set out here in the agenda, and we have met those guidelines. We do have at least one board member present here in person. We will have the votes. They do not have to be all by roll call since we're all here presently. So that's something that we don't have to follow since we're all here. We do have a quorum. And does anyone have any conflict of interest? Not hearing any. If anyone does have a conflict with an item that we're going to talk about, please let me know. Do you have any changes to the agenda tonight? Not hearing any, we do not need to approve any changes, so we can move on to the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve the consent. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call, everybody.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke? Mr. Pearson?
Yes. All right, that's approved. We have the draft meeting minutes and reports. And that brings us up to public comment. And I see that we have Don and Jane Stacy here, and they did sign up for public comment in advance. And as you probably know, you'll have 3 minutes to present your concern or issue to the board. And why don't you go ahead and, sorry.
When we was annexed into the village limits, we provided the measurements for the northern portion of our property and the southern portion. And we reversed the measurements. So we're here tonight asking the board if they would reverse these measurements for us. So we have the correct measurements for the northern portion and the southern portion.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
That's how it'll come.
Yeah.
This is Stacy, and I know you gave me this right before the meeting.
Yes.
Can you tell me, for the northern portion, I know you have the number 272
Right.
written there. Is that what the northern portion is supposed to
The
be?
northern portion is 235 feet. That is 1529. 1545 is 272 feet. And we reversed them.
So you're saying that you reversed them when you submitted this to the drawing to the village?
Yes, when we got annexed in. So
Because I can tell you, I looked back, and this was in 2014. And I had asked Nick Grindy, I believe his last name was, who was at Fairground. I had asked him, because we had the legal description of the whole parcel. And I told him I needed the north and the south because the north and the south parcels had different zoning. So then he gave me a legal description for the north and the south, and that's what we used. Now, what I don't know is whether he went and independently did something, which I would presume that's what he would do, or if somehow he was using this map that had been given that they're saying now has incorrect information. But I did confirm that, because I knew I obviously didn't make those up, that I could use what he had for the north and what he had for the south for those descriptions. And it does mention in the one for the north that there's a reference to 272 feet. And to the south one, there is a reference of 235 feet at some point. So I think maybe we need to check with them as well, because that's where those came from.
So we will check with Fair Graham and with the documentation at the time you annexed into the village, just to see if there was an error maybe at that time, and then we will figure out the right way to get that corrected.
Okay, because I brought the annexation agreement,
Okay.
and it's got the,
Is it correct in the annexation agreement?
no,
Okay.
no, the
It's in-
northern is 272.
Yeah, it's in accordance with what Nick did.
Okay.
So,
So,
but if that's wrong, then yes, the annexation agreement would be wrong.
okay. So then we will take a look at that, and then we will have to get back to you once we take a look at that, and then we need to, we'll get that corrected then.
Okay,
And those two parcels, do they currently have one pin or two?
one.
One, okay. And that's what I thought, because when looking back,
Yeah, I believe one. Yes.
yeah, because I know that I had talked to somebody from the county at that time, and you were questioning about whether or not having two pins, and there's a process that you would have to go through, as I saw it, to get two pins. Okay.
Yeah, it's got one.
So I will get a copy of this then to Fairground and ask them, what they used it from.
So then we'll let you know. All right?
Oh, okay.
Great, thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you're welcome. All right. We will move on to our committee reports, and we'll start with Public Works Committee.
Okay, for Public Works, we do have I'm going to make the motion. We discussed this at committee, but we weren't prepared at committee to move it forward. We thought it would be done in February, but we kind of had to push this along a little bit more quickly. So I will make a motion recommending board approval of resolution 2023-01R, which is acknowledging the road salt purchasing contract and authorizing purchase of up to 280 tons of road salt not to exceed $27,280.40 from account number 01-42-514.
I will second that motion.
All right, any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, in your packets, there's both the copy of the resolution, there's also the summary of the resolution, and then separately, Kelly had the contract independently, so it didn't overwhelm it, but there was a typographical error on the summary where it made a reference to purchase up to 80 tons. That should have been 280 tons. It is correct on the resolution, it was just incorrect on the summary of the resolution, but that should have read 280 tons as well.
And to clarify, this is the minimum we have to purchase for the year regardless.
That is correct. We have to purchase a minimum of 280 tons, which is 80% of our expected need. We can go up to 120% at that fixed price. So if we have a bad winter and use a lot of salt, we would probably come again for the additional if we need it. We're hoping we can stay under 280 tons. And so then, assuming this is approved, then Public Works will just make the purchases as needed, and then Treasurer Sally Bennett can just keep track of it up until that.
Any other discussion? Okay.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Ackerman?
All right, that's approved.
That's it for Public Works.
All right, thank you. Nothing from Community Development or Police Committee, so we will go on to Finance.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We have 3 items on here. The first one is the resolution for Civic Plus for the codification. As you're well aware, we've been working on getting everything codified for quite some time now, and we are in a very good spot. This would be resolution number 2023-02R. It is located in your packets as well. And correct if I'm wrong on this one, is this coming out of this year's budget or last year's budget? Or, we're 2023 now. 2022's budget or 2023?
2023.
Okay, sounds good. We did budget for this in both. It just hadn't come to fruition at that point. And Kelly can tell you all sorts of fun things about it if you would like, but it will make sure that everything is codified, and it's also designed for when we pass new resolutions, it will automatically update as well.
I will clarify. Ordinances only.
Sorry.
So it's the code book of ordinances. It would require a separate codification if we chose to codify our resolutions. But this will just be our ordinances.
And also, Kelly, isn't it that there's certain ones, but we have to do zoning separate and.
There will be separate sections for zoning, yes.
This has been something that we've wanted for 10 years now, I think. And so to finally be able to have the funds for it and to be able to get it together. We're probably one of the last communities in our area to codify. I was just talking to one of our big developers in the village and told him that we were doing this, and he was very excited because we were together trying to find different ordinances for our UDO, and I had to say, well, we've modified it 2 different times, and here are the modifications. So this would put everything up to date and under one area, so it'd be a whole lot easier for us to find things.
And I believe the contract provides that there's like a 3-hour meeting that we will have with the attorney that's assigned this through Unicode. They're not licensed in Illinois, the attorneys that are there, so naturally it's right in the contract that your attorney has to review the documents and all of that sort of thing. But they're basically putting it together for us, which is great. We've been trying to do this for a long time.
Any other?
And this is just the ordinances, and you said you're kind of working on some way to organize all the resolutions, right?
Yes.
And it's not all ordinances. They don't want everything because you don't do like appropriation and levies. You don't do one time sort of things. It's basically your rules and regulations. And what's nice about it is that when it works properly, is that you'll see an area, like there'll be a code word, and then you can click on that code word, and it can take you to an amendment, another section that relates to that. That's the beauty of it. So like Frank's saying, you're not having to go through a million different things trying to find something.
Look up sidewalks and everything deals with sidewalks, how long they have to be made out of, how wide, it all pops up for all of you.
The only caution that we have is that we know that there are over the years some things that are missing, and we're working together. We have been to try to see what we have. My last ditch effort is the attorney who represented the village before me in the basement of my office building there. I took all his files. And I said, I just want them all. I went through there at the time to make sure that there were not originals of ordinances or things like that. But there may be some clues for us about different things. It also does appear that in the olden days, so to speak, long before my time, that certain things like a resolution, they would do it in the minutes. They wouldn't do a resolution. It would be it resolved. And so you have to go look in the minutes for that sort of stuff. So that's what we're piecing together. But it certainly is progress forward.
Kelly, I suppose it probably answers the recurring cost, but when we have a new ordinance or whatever, then we have to transmit it to them and they go ahead and code those, and then, so that's why probably a good portion of the recurring costs, because they have to kind of load all that stuff up.
Well, what they do is they update that quarterly. So over the course of time, they don't do it instantly as soon as we approve an ordinance. It would be done quarterly, and they'll take any and all ordinances at that time, evaluate which ones would be codified, and then they do it then.
However, I believe in the interim period from other municipalities that I've seen that have Unicode, that they will, if you pass it tonight, you can send it to them tomorrow, and they will put it up on their website. It's just that it won't be incorporated.
It won't be
into the
coded and
contract. Right.
be linked and all
But
that.
if somebody's looking for it and wants to see, oh, did they do
Yes.
something about sidewalks last night? They would see it outside of the codification.
That's true. Yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Our second resolution is 2023-03R. With the same company as just with insurance, the more we do the bundling, it does lower the costs. And this is for a website and for board management. And that sounds really boring, but it was really exciting what Kelly was telling us about it. Can you tell us a little more about what the board management was and how it's going to be incorporated with the website, with asking questions, pushing out information for our community members?
Well, it creates agendas. It will also assist with taking minutes of a meeting, or even the voting on different items on the agenda. It will all be incorporated into that board management module. But it takes all the documents and creates a easily searchable, you could search on anything. You could search for liquor and it'll pull up all the minutes, it'll pull up all the agendas, it'll pull everything together through the board management, which then also is integrated into the website. So it's the integration of documents along with the website too, so.
Would it be your expectation that over time, obviously less labor to pull things together, but maybe also some reduction in cost on some of the Adobe software we're paying for today?
Well, I don't know if it would reduce Adobe because everything is in the PDF form, so we would probably still use it. But labor in creating that, it would be much less.
And
But the website itself has a lot of features where there's better interaction with the public, because they can actually sign up to receive notifications for when an agenda is posted. If they particularly are interested in public works, as soon as an agenda is posted for public works, they would receive a notification. Or any board meeting, they could sign up to receive those, as well as minutes. They could receive alerts when minutes are approved and posted too.
What's the probability the township would adopt something like this? Yeah, go look at the library month later to see what might be happening.
Kelly, do you know how far they're going to go back with the minutes?
I believe they said 3 years.
And with both of these combined, it is still under what we had budgeted for just the codification. So we are getting quite a lot for what we had anticipated.
Question. I'm looking at this, it says up to 5 meeting bodies.
Is this coming from committee?
These are both coming from committee.
Okay, so we don't need a second. All right, just want to make sure
Thank
we're
you.
in discussion.
Yep, I said that in my head.
Question, I'm looking at the contract. It says 5 meeting bodies, up to 10 years. What do they mean by 5 meeting bodies? Obviously, we're one meeting body. Public Works is another one, police is 5 and up.
I think it should include zoning too.
So that's where, so we got finance, PD, Public Works,
But
us,
Community development.
community development, zoning, administrative, we're at 7. This says up to 5 meeting bodies.
What, or why would that continue to be said that?
Yeah, they went there a team.
that's the ultimate,
But,
right?
but
Or is that the
still, we
website?
would have 6.
Yeah.
I believe this is the one he's just talking about right now.
The board management?
Yes.
I thought that was, the whole point of the unlimited was all.
I'll tell you, I was on page 57. Of that stuff. I mean, it's small. 50, okay, go to, I was in that wrong one.
I have it on 54 on.
I'm sorry, I was on page 61. I went past it. So is this all part of your motion right now, or is this a different motion that's coming up?
This
Well,
is
there's website and then there's the board packets. I'm trying to catch up to you to find out where you're at.
Page 61.
I want to ask him about that. That was the whole point of the ultimate.
What document are you looking at, Ann?
it's the Civic Plus quote.
I think we
Yeah.
Which one?
It's
2547-1.
Okay.
PDF page 61.
Oh, I see, on the first page, where it has quantity, product name, description, the third one down says up to 5 boards in the middle.
And then the fourth item is 5 meeting bodies. So I just want to know if the 5 is enough. What 5 boards are going to be part of that groups? So I don't mind to jump ahead a little bit, but
Kelly's gonna check with Nick because he was involved and he might have the answer.
okay. I just don't want to see us
I'm
years
guessing-
from now go like, oh, I forgot something.
I'm guessing what they were probably thinking of, just because on the existing board is you got the board and then you've got 4 committees, community development, finance, police, and public works.
So we're not going to include zoning board on this?
I talked to Nick and he said that it would have to be after they built it out, then they would look at that 5 boards. So that's what they said.
Okay.
So I knew that there was something said about it and that's why I wanted to ask Nick what he remembered.
Okay.
So is there the potential that they would allow the 6th board, you're saying?
Yeah.
Or another one.
I don't see it
But I'll
on,
confirm that.
I don't see it on this one.
That's the other one,
Right,
that's,
for our codification, we only have one board for codification.
no, but this is, are we gonna quote meetings? Because there are 2 of them,
Okay.
as I understood it, under that other, because we're done with the codification resolution.
And this
But
is
there
the
are
website
2,
and-
one's for the premium web
Oh, so
open
it's just-
subscription, right, and one's for the Municode meetings, where they deal with the meetings, and it's under the meetings. That they're basically saying, I think they're gonna track
5
to 5
groups.
different boards or groups, yeah, bodies.
Okay, so yeah, we can just decide which 5 we wanted to apply to.
And or get them to up into 6.
Okay, here, right here, on that next, on page 62, number 7, upon go live, any unused implementation services will expire. Any configuration of additional boards by Civic Plus after go live may incur additional one-time charges.
So then we can see what that additional cost
Yeah.
would be.
You can
Or-
add them, but you get charged.
Well, at least it says May.
Yeah, May, and also it says after go live, because while they're building it, if we tell them before they build it, I get from what Nick said, that potentially they might just put it in there.
He said they have to do the build out first.
No, I saw, and I'm asking.
Good catch, good.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? All right, if not, roll call please.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
All right, and I lost it. All right, so for our final one for finance, I'm trying to find the link that says go back to the top. so I can get to that. Come on. It's the budget. Long story short, it's the 2023 budget. Sally did an amazing job. Thank you so much on this. There was also, she sent it out last Thursday, gave everyone a chance to look at it. I still can't find this link, but there was a summary page talking about what we were doing. Some of the items on there, such as the pickup, or not the pickup truck, the dump truck, we've been trying to get for years now. We just keep rolling it over, but just keep budgeting for it. There are some other additional items, such as the
Do you
hundreds.
write paper, would that help?
There was,
20th century?
Items such as the $160,000 in police revenues and expenses for the anticipated body camera grant. That money itself is, we put it in, say, expecting us to get the grant, and then we're expecting to spend it. It's in the budget so that we have the ability to. If that doesn't come in, then we can relook at that situation at that point. We do not intend on spending any money if the grants and other information does not come in. Thank you. Also in there, so we've got the hail damage money, 163,000. Again, we brought it in to allow us to spend it. We have no current, that's an open discussion of how we want to do this, if we want to build the new buildings or whatnot. But with it being in the budget, we now have the ability to do so.
All right, so there's a motion for the approval of the 2023 budget that's coming from committee.
That's correct.
Is that one? That's there.
Additional discussion regarding the budget? And again, thank you for everyone putting it together. I know Sally, you put it all together at the end, but I also want to thank the other people involved in the different departments and the committees. If there's no additional discussion, if we could have a roll call, please.
Thank you. Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
All right, that's approved. Anything else from finance?
And that is it from finance.
All right, thank you. Under my items, we have our standard meeting dates.
I noticed on the information, the Public Works was not noted on there, but it will be Tuesday, January the 31st at 5:30. Yeah.
We'll move on to new business. And just wanted to let everybody know that the village received the Illinois Department of Public Health Award Certificate for our Winnebago Water Department. And it's in recognition of achieving the highest standard of compliance for at least 15 years in accordance with the Illinois Fluoridation Act. That's from 2003 to 2021 without a gap. So when you see your friendly public works people, say thank you. As Chad will say, we have the best water in the area, and he's not kidding.
My daughter from Atlanta says she loves going back to get the Winnebago water.
It's a good testament.
Thank you, Jan.
Yes, thank you.
So, and we are in a lead company. We have a list of a lot of the communities in the state, and we are towards the top of the community. So again, thank you, Chad, for what you do and everybody else in your department. The one piece of listed new business we have is contemplation of step pay for employees. And I just put it on here because I just want to get a feel from the board. If you want to have the admin team talk about step pay and how it may work, if you want a particular committee such as Public Works or Police to work on it because they may have employees that would be involved with it, if you want to have an assigned or people appointed to a special committee to study this, or if you just want to have a council meeting where we have the whole board sit in a special meeting and all we do is talk about step pay. I think admin team would take this on. I think we've taken on other things that relate to this type of thing. And if there are other people, that have ideas and that we could take them, but we could do it. But I just want to kind of get your thoughts on what forum you want this to go to look into it, to come back with some proposals or options of how it might work and what might work. I know, Adam, you have some familiarity with it.
It's more than just me. Graham does.
Yeah, well, and yeah.
It makes it, in the public sector, it's that pay is very, very common, due to the fact of the unions. And that makes it, being we're a public entity, anybody can see where pay rates are. And if people are looking for jobs, the public sector, that's one thing they're eyeing. They're looking at for that pay. They want to know where they're gonna be at in 20 years, where they gonna retire at, what's my pension gonna look like. That's all part of the public sector for money. So I think, I don't know how it works in administration, your 4-hour work weeks or your administration type pay, because they're considered usually non-union. So they usually don't see the step pay in those positions. So I don't have a clue how that works in those positions, so.
Maybe police and.
Public work for sure. like I said, front office, and all that.
And also, it would be for, basically non-salaried employees, hourly, well. Because I would think that we have administrative assistants that would also be possibly in a step pay system.
Why, if we're gonna do that, why can't salary employees also have a police charge?
We can do whatever we want pretty much.
I guess,
So,
so,
right, and so, that's kind of where we want to figure out is, where do you want to start this discussion? You want to start it at a particular committee?
Yeah.
And again, it's the board, deciding where you want this to go. So what I'm looking for is a recommendation from the board to send this to a particular place to start the process.
now that we've passed the budget, so it's, today like now short here, I know Oregon contracted with a company and they did all of the research and provided, hey, Oregon said we want to be the top, but we can't be the top. We also don't want to be the bottom, so put us somewhere in the middle, and they produced pay charts for all of the positions.
Didn't we have Oregons?
We do have
So there
Oregons.
you go.
Yes.
What's the question?
And they have a city of 3,800 people, so they're a little bit bigger than us, but not a lot bigger.
I mean, I already got the chart, pretty much. You just gotta plug in different paying. The numbers all came from the chief and Chad, where he gave where his employees should be at
Oh,
this time.
Chad did one too?
I started one for Public Works. He's not on that public space. So basically, it took their numbers, a lot was based off what we talked about months ago, plucked them into their areas and filled the gaps. Obviously, we can change anything we want in them. I guess it's up to you guys if you want to break it down into subcommittees and then bring it back to a committee of the whole.
Do you think it would be best to have admin team, because we would meet with the directors of each department? So it would be, Jeremy, Sally, and I. We'd have Kelly and Sally, and then we would have Chad and or Jimmy, and then Nick and or Jeff. And so I think all of it will be covered in that meeting. We would have both departments where they would have the affected employees. Maybe we could talk about it amongst us and then bring it back to the board.
I mean, I think that sounds reasonable to start there and see like what you guys come up with, and then, like you said, you can bring it to the board and say, we worked this out and this is where we're at.
If we want a special meeting after that or whatever, then the board can decide where to go with it.
Sure.
I think it's a reasonable start.
Okay. Okay. So,
We want what you created, though. That's what we started.
right, exactly.
Well, it's not for you.
You can join the admin committee, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure I can show up as a
Yes.
yes.
No,
Well, we'll have, you can, but then we'll just have to post it. So, I mean, if we're gonna have, other than the two of us, if somebody else wants to show up, then we'll just need to know ahead of time, and then we'll post the meeting. It's not a big deal, but we'll just need to post the meeting.
Or I could be busy that day, and then you.
Was it a big deal posting it? I mean,
There's no big deal posting it.
And I think it would really be helpful to have what Adam has
Oh,
already
absolutely,
done.
absolutely, yeah, no. So, yeah, if you would like to attend, that's fine.
work around my schedule, unfortunately.
We'll do that. So Kelly, I'm gonna task you with sending out a meeting note, suggested times to everybody.
Yeah, we gotta cancel after this meeting.
Yeah, well, I guess the only feedback I have going into it is, so I mean, we've got obviously 3 distinct groups of employees. We've got the Public Works, the office, and the police department, and each of them have their own little idiosyncrasies, and whether the steps are based on time or whether the steps are based on achieving certain certifications or whatever, and trying to get those all factored in there.
And just making sure that we don't, and we've kind of tended to do this, they're all different, so we can't compare them to each other, they're all.
Well, as you said, they're unique groups of employees. So
You
that's
always,
why it's
you gotta figure out your base pay. What is your base? What is your starting pay for somebody coming in with either nothing or the basic knowledge for a job? And that's where everything starts at what you give them, and then there you build up.
If we're discussing, creating meetings, can we also put one out there for a strategic plan of the hail damage money and or the additional grant money that we have available? So So they don't have to do one meeting unless you guys got 5 hours. But we're starting to look at these things and getting these things knocked out. I will propose another meeting for that.
So you want one meeting for the two things? Hail
Two.
damage and,
Well, I would think, again, maybe a possible approach would be is, an administrator meeting on the step pay, and then, it might be after that first one, then you bring, 2 or 3 of these topics back into a COW meeting.
yeah, because I don't think you want to put the step meeting with these
No.
other.
No, separate. And really,
Phase 2 of it could probably be brought together with the other things, because at that point, again, more of a brainstorming session or whatever, that to see, at least where the status quo is and where some of the actions are, and then the final result of that may be spinning off a couple more subcommittee meetings to, dig a little bit deeper on those subjects.
Okay. Any other new business?
Sally, if we could go back to the meetings, and we're gonna take the police committee from January 17th off then, and we're just gonna meet on the 24th. Because that was gonna be to look at step pay, but we decided, Frank and I talked, and I said, maybe we should make sure the board is in favor of it before we start.
So the 24th only?
Yeah,
The 17th is
24th
out.
and the 17th is out, yes, thank you.
and I did not see finances on there. It is January 26th at 5:30.
Thank you.
Any other new business?
Just as a point of information, as you know, we distributed solar farm ordinance for your review. And there's legislation that went through the Senate, Illinois Senate, and it will be going to the House. Question will be whether or not the state will say, like how the Senate has said, that you cannot restrict where solar farms are put. A municipality, that's the proposed legislation, and that every municipality would then have to change their zoning accordingly. I'm not saying that's going to pass, but I know that was put through by the Democrats, and I know the Republicans are not happy. So whether or not it will go any further than the Senate, I do not know. I did look and read the legislation that basically would limit the ability to restrict what zoning areas.
You didn't happen to record the bill number on it, did you?
I do have that up.
Can you email that to
Yeah,
everybody,
yep.
please?
Yeah, because I tried to find it earlier today, because I had seen some information on it, but I couldn't find the bill.
Any other new business? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right.
Pretty close. I think we have been 30 minutes.
I didn't even make the coffee. I made the coffee for nothing. I'm getting all night.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
6:42.
All right, you can stay here.
You can stay back.